This year has been harrowing for Israel, but also incredible in so many ways. Israel has fought an unbelievable war of self-defense on 7 fronts: Gaza, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, Judea and Samaria, and Iran itself, and has experienced miracle after miracle after miracle. Yes, the IDF is powerful, talented, and competent, but what we were taught by October 7th is that they're also human and thereby fallible. While 2024 for Israel has been fought and won by countless hours of blood, sweat, and tears by Israelis across all of Israel's fronts, the ultimate strength of victory comes from God alone. At the beginning of the year, Israel had hundreds of thousands of troops committed in Gaza as their primary target. They were holding the line with Yemen, Iraq, and Syria, and were under the threat of the Hezbollah doomsday scenario, a situation where Hezbollah would fully commit to war and shoot tens of thousands of missiles at Israeli cities at a pace where Israel's missile defense system couldn't keep up. This would result in many civilian casualties on Israel's side, a horrific nightmare of an experience. But thank God, basically none of the terrible things many experts predicted would happen in Israel actually did. Israel swept through Gaza, bringing devastation to Hamas. Many hostages were released in hostage deals. Some were rescued, others sadly remain in captivity.
הלו. הנה, שומעת אותנו, אורי? אורי יקרה, בידיים טובות, עוד מעט את בבית.
Hamas's fighting capacity has been completely obliterated. Their command chain is gone. Khanieh is gone. Sinwar is gone. Other senior leaders were finally kicked out of Qatar after being hosted there for years. For the first time in nearly 20 years, peace reigns on the Gaza border. There's no fear of Hamas coming up through a tunnel to bring terror to Israeli civilians. And even though Hamas manages to fire an occasional rocket from a back alley in Gaza every once in a while, the primary threat of a heavy rocket barrage raining down on Israeli communities is now gone. There are 1,000 ways Hamas could have slipped through Israel's fingers and the war could still be raging, but they didn't. There are 1,000 ways Hamas could have killed many more Israeli soldiers in Gaza, but they didn't. Many more rockets could have slipped through the Iron Dome, killing thousands of Israeli civilians, but they didn't. Instead, with God's help, Israel has won the victory against Hamas, and Gaza, as a threat to Israel's survival, is no more. Then Israel pivoted to face Hezbollah. Hezbollah had tens of thousands of advanced missiles pointed at Israel's population centers, enough to overwhelm the Iron Dome and kill thousands of Israelis. But for some reason, they hesitated on a full attack. Israel somehow hunted down and killed nearly every senior Hezbollah commander in airstrikes and targeted assassinations. An operation that began 10 years ago, where Israel stuffed explosives into thousands of pagers and radios, just happened to have not been discovered. Israel set them off, maiming and killing thousands of terrorists across Lebanon. There are so many ways this could have gone wrong, but it didn't. Hezbollah's will to destroy Israel was broken. Death reigned everywhere for the enemies of Israel. In one fell swoop, Israel descended from the skies and destroyed Hezbollah's missile caches. The doomsday scenario that could have been is now no more. Then Israel somehow found Hezbollah's supreme leader Nasrallah and killed him too. Lebanon as a threat to Israel's survival is now also no more. On another front, Israel has been able to hold the line in Iraq, keeping the situation from escalating in any way. Iran attacked Israel twice directly with ballistic missile barrages, but both attempts also failed miserably. Hundreds of massive missiles rained from the sky. Dozens could have slipped through Israel's air defense systems, killing thousands of Israelis, but they didn't. Israel's defense, with the help of the US, was perfect, something some experts asserted was physically impossible. Israel responded by striking back in Iran, destroying their missile defense systems, missile fueling sites, and one of Iran's secret nuclear development locations. Israeli fighter jets could have been shot down, but they weren't. Iran could have responded in force a third time, but they didn't. Their will to fight had been cowed. In Syria, Assad was ousted by the Syrian rebels. In a dramatic move, Israel was able to destroy nearly their entire air force navy, and huge stockpiles of chemical weapons, severely limiting the next government's ability to damage Israel. Again, Israeli fighter jets could have been shot down, but they weren't. Chemical weapons could have been used, but they weren't. Israel was able to handicap Syria's ability to do Israel's harm and expand their territory on the border while losing nothing in return. Syria, as a significant threat to Israel's survival, also is no more for the time being. Even though the Houthis have been shooting missiles at Israel, they continue to be very ineffective. Missiles are either shot down or land in the ocean. The Houthis have never been much of a threat to Israel, more of an annoyance than anything else, but hopefully that annoyance will soon, too, cease to exist as Israel turns their attention more fully to this front and begins to strike them harder than they have ever struck them before. On the home front, Israel's population has finally reached 10 million. This is a huge achievement as Israel is still struggling to rebuild after over a third of Jews were tragically murdered in the Holocaust. After 85 years, we are just now reaching pre-Holocaust population levels. There were an estimated 15 to 16 million Jews worldwide in the 1930s, and today we are back up to about 16 million worldwide. On the international stage, Paraguay joined the US, Papua New Guinea, Guatemala, Honduras, and Kosovo, and moving their embassy to Jerusalem. It's amazing to see these countries taking the lead on an obviously good and moral stance, agreeing that the Jewish people have the right to have their eternal capital, Jerusalem, recognized as such by the world. Israel also finally kicked UNRWA, the UN refugee organization for Palestinians, out of Jerusalem. Unsurprisingly, this organization is extraordinarily corrupt. One of the hostages rescued in Gaza was found to have been held by an UNRWA worker, and over again, it has been proven that UNRWA is deeply embedded with Hamas and vice versa. So, Israel finally getting the guts to call this out and take action here is extremely important. In Judea and Samaria, many fully expected the Palestinians to rise up in mass and join Hamas in this war. Entire Israeli communities could have been massacred in their sleep in late 2023 and 2024, but thank God this didn't happen. While things have been very tense, overall in Judea and Samaria and Jerusalem, terrorism is down 40% in 2024 compared to previous years. And guys, prayer is happening on the Temple Mount again after being tightly controlled for years. I don't know how you can look at any of this and not see a God in Israel working and moving in miraculous ways. Prophecy is unfolding. History is in the making. And God willing, 2025 will hold extraordinary things in store for Israel, the Jewish people, and the world. If you are inspired by what's happening in Israel and want to come experience it for yourself in 2025, then I'm guessing that you may be looking for something that goes beyond the tour bus experience, something deeper. Here at Hayuvel, our mission is to bring Christian volunteers from around the world to serve the land and people of Israel. At the same time, we're committed to connecting you to the roots of your faith and Bible by experiencing the place where it all began. Our programs plant trees, harvest grapes and olives, and many other things that all typically get your hands dirty in the soil. At the same time, we take you to the places that most tour buses don't go. You'll stand where Abraham stood, pick up pottery from ancient Shiloh, and travel the same road that Jesus walked. You'll meet the local pioneers and hear their miraculous stories of life in Israel's biblical heartland. To find out more and start your journey, go to serveisrael.com.